All right, welcome back. You're watching Uongozi today. We continue with the conversation on this tail end of the program. We'll look at recently, of course, where we had this saga of the leakage at the JKIA, and we had the CS blaming the previous administration, as Victor has actually drawn here inside the delineation. It wasn't me, and you can see the ominous cloud there raining at the airport, and of course we have the light. It was actually a tragedy of a blackout and the rains, and Uhuru Kenyatta is being dragged into this saga as well. Let's just hear from Kipruto Rapkiro. First of all, do you support the view that we should have, or is already constituted, that particular committee to try and investigate or try and audit all the airports here in the country? What is the sole responsibility of the Kenya Airports Authority?
Well, I think it was a knee-jerk reaction, because the minister, if he's in charge of that particular portfolio, should have known who was the contractor. Why is there still some kind of makeshift arrangement of prefabs on the entry to our country and exit out of our country? Those are things that any normal minister would be able to know and be able to make decisions without necessarily the benefit of constituting a committee of the same officers who should have given him a report one afternoon. The second issue is that I think there is challenge of communication in this regime. A minister or a deputy president, once they make, or even the president, of course starting with the president downwards, when you make a statement, be aware that that statement has far-reaching repercussions. One, Kenyans believe in you, and when they believe in you, what you say, they tend to believe until they are given contrary information. For the minister to say that he is blaming it on the previous regime, nothing can be said other than it was totally out of order, and it does not behove the character or the position of a minister to make such statements. It's like buying a house from you, and 1 year down the road, I start blaming it on certain leakages on you, which means either I never did due diligence by the time I took over the house, or the house has just, out of challenges beyond you, has gotten into that particular state of affairs. What they should accept is that the more you blame Uhuru Kenyatta, the more you look very responsible. I remember when we inherited the economy 2003, it was worse off than they found Uhuru Kenyatta's economy from President Moi. But in the 10 years Kibaki was the president, he never blamed President Moi on anything. And none of us were allowed to blame it on President Moi, because Kibaki told us, don't tell us what happened, tell us what you are doing and what the future of this country should be. And don't tell us what you are likely to do next year, tell us what you are doing now. And I thought that was very high moral probity on the part of the president. So Murkomen to say is appointing some individuals really from the same department to come and give him a report after 14 days, and perhaps on the longer stretch after 28 days, either he does not know what happens in that particular department, or he himself is chosen to make fun of us, because an international airport within the Horn of Africa, which we claim to be the hub of communication in the eastern bloc of Africa, should not be something akin to a cowshed. That's the best I can say. Now, the other thing, Dibal, I was worried before we went for the break. You mentioned the issue of government getting into another deal.
Yeah, we'll come to that.
Okay.
We'll come to that. Let's just hear from, because also Barak has to leave.
You say a cowshed is a bad thing, because a cowshed should be a very good
thing. A cowshed, you know, cows can be rained on, but it will not affect anything. But if you've come from your nice suit, from Germany or from France or from Italy, Canali from Italy, and once you get into the airport, you are rained on. You know that suit is going to waste. Even by the time you take to the laundry, it is not going to take the shape that's supposed to be, because laundry for a certain category of clothes is supposed to be dry cleaning. And when you put water, it's no longer dry cleaning. You are making it wet and soaky, and you are making it dirty.
And you know, this is is a suit that is worth 800,000 shillings.
Yeah,
so this is
anything between 200 and 800,000, depending on your pocket.
So it's
because you can go for quality.
You should pay duty on that suit.
But not when you have won it.
It's beyond $1 million. It's even beyond almost $1 million.
So for me, I can start by saying, first of all, President William Ruto has done something to make Kenya be very visible, like very visible in international scene. But the problem with that visibility is now what is being said about Kenya. You know, there's a proverb that says that a monkey that climbs a tree exposes the ass. So when you climb a tree in the global scene, you are very visible. But what are people seeing? Are people seeing good impression? So with the airport not working well, Kenya is on the global map. People are watching. When you come to the airport, it's leaking. People's suits are getting destroyed. Now the harassment carries. So I think that the whole airport mess and the JKI image needs to be done. You remember, I looked at the ranking. They usually rank the most friendly airport to guests. Amsterdam is one of them. Seoul Airport in is it South Korea?
South Korea.
Is among the best airports to be in. Where will you put Kenya in terms of the most attractive airports for passengers, even for transporting, when you land? For example, with all the infrastructure now, if you look at the airport that you can see, the one in Ghana might start to look friendly. If you go to the Dar es Salaam airport, you might see more friendly airport handling for foreigners who are coming in and out. So Kenya must be really competitive in the global sphere, and I think that needs to be done. Then for me, there's something I have to explain here, because if you become a CEO one day, Debal, if you know you cannot perform anything, work with two things. One, spend some years blaming your predecessor. That's a strategy for a successful CEO, that you will deliver nothing and you get your salary for 2 terms. You'll be named, I'll tell you. Blame your boss, then the second term, blame the economy and blame the workers. Then you finish your term 6 years and you go home. And you'll go with all your benefits and salaries. So if this is what Kenya Kwanza needs to do, they will get the 2 terms like Gachagua says. They can get it by spending time blaming Uhuru Kenyatta, then blaming the economy, blaming the war in Russia, blaming the war in Palestinian and Israel. What I'm telling Kenyans is that we do not want to listen to those things, because there's what you call reality. Reality is that the war in Hamas and Israel can affect our economy, but what are you doing to mitigate? Because that's what leadership is all about. Things don't happen, they are made to happen. And according to me, we have a government that's very optimistic, but there's a time when optimism is not smart. You must also be pessimistic. Pessimistic means that you know that there's a mosquito inside your net. You can sleep with optimism, the mosquito will bite you. You wake up and smash the mosquito, then you sleep. There is something wrong that we can see. What are you doing about the oil prices? What are you doing about the JKI thing? So I do not take excuses. I tell you, my home, I've trained my son who is 6 years old now, that excuses are outside this house. They are not inside here. So they don't help.